Releasing today exclusively on the Switch, the SEGA Ages version of G-LOC Air Battle has arrived. Odds are you may not have heard of this game before now, or at least haven't really seen it in action before, and are wondering what on earth it actually is. Now, normally on this channel I cover 2 of the Ages releases in one video, as I've done for each release in the lineup so far, but this time a review code was passed over my way from SEGA, and to spoil how I feel up front, once I played it, I couldn't wait to talk about this game. Loss of Consciousness by G-Force, with some pretty generous shuffling, abbreviates to G-LOC, which I just love dumb video game names. That's great. G-LOC is an air combat simulator designed by Yu Suzuki and developed by AM2, putting you into the cockpit of an unlicensed jet fighter and tasking you with engaging in aerial dogfights and shooting down a certain number of enemies per mission. You'll accomplish that by dodging incoming missiles, pulling off crazy spins, and using lock-on targeting missiles to supplement the bullets you can fire on enemy planes. Released worldwide in 1990 in the arcades, G-LOC is mostly known for its hydraulic arcade cabinet that allowed it to shift and move to coincide with player steering. While I wasn't able to tell if this game is officially part of the Afterburner series or not, it at least shares some DNA along the way. The game offers 3 difficulty modes, each having its own set of increasingly lengthy mission layouts and stricter time requirements. As you might expect, shooting down as many enemy combatants as quickly as possible will net you a higher time going into the next mission, with your ultimate aim being to land on an aircraft carrier to be hailed as a hero whose acronym will be stored in the history books. I really like this name entry screen, by the way. This typewriter is a really neat touch. So how is the game? I intentionally kept myself in the dark going into this release, which I know is a weird thing to say about a game that's older than I am and easily searchable online, but I really love seeing Sega's more obscure titles get brought back into a spotlight, so I wanted to go in not knowing anything, and honestly, I had a blast. I was really not expecting to be smiling so wide and having such a great time while playing. There's just something really satisfying about narrowly avoiding incoming enemy missiles while keeping track of your missile lock-on and surroundings. I found it really exhilarating. Controlling the game felt a bit weird at first, of course, but once I got the hang of it, I was immersed. Helping that immersion is one of the features this SEGA Ages release includes, a simulation of the shaking arcade cabinet. If you've played M2's 3D Classics line on a 3DS, you're probably familiar with the idea here. To try to simulate the actual arcade cabinet's shaking that I mentioned earlier, the screen will shift and adjust to your inputs while arcade sounds filter in, which might sound really weird on paper, but I found it immediately natural and it totally helped suck me into the fun. I really have to hand it to M2. I love when they try weird things like this, and for me, it absolutely worked this time. Of course, if you really aren't feeling it, you can always turn that off in the options and change the background to the cockpit or usual Ages release backgrounds and display filters. Some other options included are the ability to switch between the International and Japan versions, an adjustable difficulty slider, and some other things that unlock after you've beaten the game. There's also a simple option that speeds up the rate at which your lock-on acquires targets. Factor in online rankings, video replays, and save states, and most of the usual Ages features make an appearance. And to that end, in this release, the Ages mode lets you fly a souped-up version of your jet with even faster lock-on, more missiles, and more enemies throughout the stages. It starts out pretty easy, but the challenge ramps up gradually throughout it, and it's really addicting. It's arguably one of the simpler Ages modes in the series, but it pays off quite nicely, and it's definitely worth the inclusion in my eyes. So, are there any negatives? Well, this is a game from 1990, so while I certainly enjoyed it myself as a novel experience, I'd be lying if I said that the controls weren't frustrating at times while trying to get the hang of things. You turn left and right rather slowly, which is to be expected, and the level design generally accommodates for this by being pretty open. But there are select stages like this one that takes place in this pass. It's pretty windy, and when you're not used to it, it might be a bit frustrating as you find yourself whizzing by enemies you feel like you should be able to line up shots on. It's not often a big deal, and it does help mix things up a bit, but perhaps one of the Ages adjustments could have been to allow for finer turns in the jet fighter to help ease in new players. Aside from that though, I heartily recommend this version of G-LOC Air Battle. I'm glad I finally got a chance to experience this game that I probably never would have tried otherwise, honestly. I'm going to be putting some more time into it because right now I'm pretty trash at the game's hard difficulty. What say you? Will you be giving G-LOC a shot or giving it a pass? Let me know in the comments, and if you need something else to watch, I've covered every other SEGA Ages release on my channel. I'll put the playlist link down below. I talk a lot about SEGA on this channel, so feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. Otherwise, thanks for dropping by, and take it easy. And a thanks to all my patrons for their support, especially my higher tier patrons: Buckles Chucklo, The Legend of Groose, Potate Jello, Goldstorm07, Patrick Thompson, Jeet, Calico Plus, The Crazy Even, and Svendelica.